Hello and welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and we're back again talking about Vladimir Putin's speech at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. And we really just got off talking about some interesting topics related to supply and demand, consumer versus producer economies. And if you didn't watch that video, you should definitely go back and watch it. But we'll be talking about it a little bit more because we cut off right in the middle. So let's get into it and we can talk more about this topic.
Investment into industries, priority industries. This year, the level of investment should rise to no less than 2 trillion rubles by 2030. It has to increase fivefold up to 10 trillion rubles. We have already come up with a whole range of tools. Agreements on the protection and promotion of investments, special investment contracts, the Industrial Development Fund, and industrial mortgage. At the end of February, we've launched the so-called cluster investment platform, and the participants can get concessional lending at a rate lower than the central bank's key rate to the tune of up to 100 billion rubles. The underwriting is provided by VEB. Subsidies is provided to R&D, especially in modern technologies. The emphasis is on upscaling the production. In 3 years, last year there were 160 such projects with a special emphasis on chemistry, LNG and hydrogen energy. Of course, we do not need to produce all goods and all services in country because it's impossible for any country in the world, nor is it our goal. We need to have our own solutions, however, in critically important areas. We need to build reliable cooperation networks and technological partners. We look forward to working together with colleagues from friendly countries, with partners from the Eurasian Economic Union, BRICS, SCO, and other associations. And we have to provide a better financial basis for private investment projects. We have to make these resources more available to businesses. We've already launched the Project Financing Factory. It's currently helping 26 projects to the tune of 1.8 trillion rubles. They include the construction of a mining and metal plant in Zabaikalsky Krai, a coal port in Primorsky Krai, fertilizer plants in the northeast and the far east, modernization of airports and energy facilities. Another 7 projects have been approved to the tune of 345 billion rubles. This is an instrument that is in demand. And we need to launch new tools to help the technological sovereignty of Russia. The government has already adopted the decisions to that end. We are going to launch an umbrella guarantee program under the VEB aegis to the tune of 200 rubles. According to our estimates,
Okay, so just something to comment on from a kind of 3,000-foot level here is these are the technical details for how you develop autonomy within your country to decouple from the West and to create a parallel international economic system. And there's very few countries that could have done this to the extent that Russia is doing it. I mean, like I said earlier in an earlier video, Iran did this to a certain extent, but nowhere near the extent of Russia. And obviously, the only other country I could think of that could have maybe done this better than Russia would probably have been China. But even then, it's hard to say China would have been because the sheer amount of natural resources that Russia has make it, I feel like, in a better position than a more manufacturing-oriented economy such as China to actually handle this type of economic warfare that the West is conducting against the Russian Federation. And so Russia is really in an ideal position to create this parallel international economy, and other countries are taking notes because they could plug into this system and either implement similar things on a domestic front or interact and engage with Russia on an international front. So what we're hearing about here, some of the kind of technical details are boring in and of themselves, but the whole picture, if you look at things holistically, is that Russia's creating a new system. And that new system, it's meant to make them independent from America, but at the same time, it's going to destroy America. Like, America can't function if this system coexists. It just can't. Because America's major weapon is economic warfare, and it's going to lose that if Russia is able to succeed at the things it's currently talking about in this, Vladimir Putin is talking about in this speech. So just keep that in mind whenever he goes over these kind of very specific programs that if you're not in that specific area of Russia, you may not care about. But when he's talking about those, think about the big picture of this is destroying the West. The programs he's talking about, that's going to destroy the West.
This will allow us to decrease the rate for investment credits by 1.5 percentage points. And if a project is chosen by the factory, then it automatically gets underwriting from VEB. And we need to tap into the potential of the Russian stock exchange. At a recent meeting with the Russian Business Russia, we agreed to send bonds that give you a title to share in the revenues of the company, and they can have different maturities, sometimes indefinite maturities. The central bank and the government, I hope, will swiftly implement this idea, and we need to attract shareholder capital. With the participation of VEB, we'll launch a special instrument, and VEB is going to assume a huge part of the risks. At the earliest stages of the program, it's going to be 200 billion rubles, but even that volume alone will help us unblock investment to the tune of more 2 trillion rubles, and we shouldn't drag our feet. The first projects should be launched as early as this summer. Now, as for the circulation of corporate shares in our market, as I said during my address, we support the IPOs for high-tech businesses. Right now, the government is working on tax preferences for the issuers and purchasers of such securities. But in order to give an additional impetus to our shares market, we made a special decision, which is related to a situation when foreign owners are selling Russian assets. In such case, part of the shares of the company whose owner is changed should flow into the Russian stock exchange, and we need to create incentives for additional inflow of money to our capital markets. The long-term savings of our citizens can be a very good source of such money, and these need our support, and especially under the insurance system for voluntary pension accumulations, because the government guarantees the return of a sum of up to 2,800,000 rubles, and we need to make sure that our citizens can get money inside the country. We know that sometimes our money, Russian money, was in suspense abroad. In Moscow, in St. Petersburg, investors can get not just a land plot, but also all the necessary communications, as well as a full package of tax rebates and preferences, but that only concerns capitals and a number of big regions. Some regions in Russia simply do not have this opportunity because their budget is very much limited and they need support. We need to develop the infrastructure at an accelerated rate, and they need to get support through the so-called infrastructure menu. A special emphasis should be made on budgets, on regions with small budgets. We need to provide our regions with equal opportunities for providing preferences to new projects. What I'm talking about, I am going to give an explanation right now. To stimulate new business initiatives, some federation subjects, some constituent bodies of Russia can introduce an investment tax rebate. But the thing is, so far, the mechanism has not been tested properly, and not all budget of our regions can afford to defer payments for the sake of future payments. And that is why we need to recalibrate this tax rebate and make sure.
Did you see those people on their phones? Like, come on, Vlad. Yeah, I get it. All right, you're gonna invest a little bit in these smaller regions. Come on, here we go. Get get to the good parts. Come on. All right.
But it helps reinforce the technological sovereignty of our country, primarily in regions with smaller budget capacities. I would like to ask the government to work this issue through with the Commission of the State Council of Investment and the business circles to relaunch the mechanism next year with updated parameters. We need to provide long-term budget credits on concessional basis to the regions. We know the risks involved. There can be an overload and also excessive credit burden. This will all need to be carefully thought through. Let me reiterate that we need to take into account the interests of business development. At the same time, we've got to strike a balance with regional budgets. Regional management teams play a leading role in setting up a modern business environment. As is tradition, I would like to speak about the...
Yeah, all right. So I'm teasing him about some of these more boring parts, but you also have to think, going back to that big picture thinking, is he's in charge of a country that is very, very, very... It's the largest country in the world by land mass. And so it's like, what he's doing makes a whole lot of sense in terms of getting the various regions interconnected, helping the prosperity of the various very large regions. And so, like, he's doing everything right as an actual statesman. So more props to him for doing this. This is impressive stuff, but he's been in charge for so long that, I mean, it makes sense that he would be good at this kind of thing.
Regions that have made the greatest headway in the National Investment Climate Ranking. 60 regions have got upwards in the ranking. The best dynamics have been demonstrated by the Chechen Republic, Rostov, Saratov, Kostroma regions, the Malonyanetsky Autonomous District, as well as Zabaikalsky Krai. Congratulations are in order to my colleagues. I wish them further success. Another avenue of the supply economy is raising the efficiency of the real sector and the services, raising labor project.
Okay, I'm going to stop it here because I think this is an excellent... He's going to talk about the real sector of the economy versus the more financial sector, so tangible goods versus intangible goods to a large extent, things like that. So I think that is going to make an excellent next video. And so we're going to stop here. If you enjoyed this video and have been enjoying my content, please like my videos. It does help me in the YouTube algorithm, which, by the way, the YouTube algorithm, I've been monitoring it. It's a very interesting algorithm. My videos are intended primarily for a Western audience, but because I'm living in the Philippines, my videos are being seen by a Southeast Asian audience for mostly, which is interesting. So thank you, my Southeast Asian audience. If you're watching from the West, you're one of the very few because the YouTube algorithm has decided to only send my video out in Southeast Asia during Southeast Asian daytime hours. And so, I work with algorithms. I'm a data scientist. As an IO psychologist, we're very data oriented. So I don't think that's how algorithms are supposed to work, but that is apparently how the YouTube algorithm does work. So interesting shenanigans related to the algorithm. But if you do like this video, wherever you are in the world, please like it and subscribe to our channel for more content. We're constantly innovating, constantly improving. I'm constantly learning more things that I could be doing. And I want to bring you guys the best content. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.